Hello, my name is Matthew Krause, and I am a business systems consultant with Opal Business Solutions. And today we'll be going over the fixed asset setup in Business Central. Now, as you can see, I am on the home page in Business Central. The first place we'll want to go to is the universal search bar up in the top right, and we'll want to type in fixed assets setup. We'll select that. And you can see this will be the general screen that will show up. You'll see a few features. You can choose the name of your depreciation book. Now, depending on how many different types of assets you have, you may want to have multiple different books. You can allow posting to the main. You can toggle this on and off. Yeah, I will toggle this on. You can also determine the range of when you allow fixed asset posting. Now, a lot of fixed assets are depreciated, some over a set period over time, others are variable, but you can always exclude certain periods, just like you can with the general ledger setup, in that restricting the ability to post during a certain time period for fixed assets specifically. It's important to know in case, say, you have either new assets or other assets that you're not quite ready to start posting to because you need to set them up first. Now you can change the lettering here, but that's all up to you and how you want to mark that. So a few other notes. There's depreciation over here. You could look at the depreciation books, and this will allow you to set up those depreciation books for the depreciation purposes. So if we click on that, we can see that the default one in this default company is called company. If we select that, it will show us a more kind of descriptive version of the book card for the fixed assets. You'll see a various amounts of radio buttons here, all that will allow you to do certain things. If you hover over them, you'll see a little tooltip that'll tell you kind of what it does. But some of them are pretty simple in what their description is, such as some of them would be certain subtractions and additions of discounts and purchase invoices. Some might allow corrections of disposal of assets. Some allow certain depreciation fields to be modified. And you can change these at any time by going back to this depreciation book card, but it's definitely something you want to look through and set up first prior to doing any fixed asset posting in Business Central. So allowing identical documents. There are some of these that might be more useful than others, but it's definitely something you want to make sure you go through methodically and make sure each change is something you would want in your company. If we scroll down a little bit, you'll also see that there's a section for integration. This will allow you to specify whether certain entries are posted to other ledgers as well as just the fixed asset ledger. For example, this first one, specifically for the acquisition cost of a new fixed asset, this will allow them to be posted to both the general ledger and the fixed asset ledger. And you can choose a general ledger account and such when you are doing that posting. But there are various other integrations that may be useful, and you might want to have them on in the sense that this would make it a lot easier for you to be able to post to multiple books of both the fixed assets records and the general ledger as well. So you can go through a lot of these as well and see which ones you would like. The ones I probably would recommend the most would be the acquisition cost, the depreciation, and the write-down. Some of these other ones could theoretically be switched off, but I would keep these first three for sure marked. There are a few other sections here in the depreciation book card. You can see under duplication. You can see if there's anything there you would like to select, such as an exchange rate, or make it a part of a list. And in the reporting section, you can add certain specifications to, say, adding current exchange rates. It seems that's mostly what this is doing for this section, adding, depending on how many currencies you are dealing with and where you're getting your fixed assets from, you may need to have an exchange rate for your currency. All right, so we're gonna say this is all well and good, and we're gonna go back. I want to go back again. And that was our depreciation books. We can also look at the depreciation tables. So if we go to there, we don't have any created, so I'll select new here. And we'll do, for a code, we'll do test FA. This is a test fixed asset. And so we're going to just do a very simple depreciation table. We're going to say period length is going to be over a month. And total number of units, we'll make it 12. And then you can create each individual period up here. So for the first period, we could say, let's say there is a 12% depreciation on that asset. And then for the second period, it's going to go down to 6%. And then from there, you can adjust each individual period for the individual percentage rate. So depending on how you wish to design your fixed asset for depreciation, you could either have it fixed where you have every month or every period be the same percentage of depreciation each period, or you could do a variable. This allows you to start it with a potentially higher percentage at the beginning, and then it changes throughout the asset's life. The flexibility that Business Central offers is that it allows you to make and add all these lines as you can. And there's no really hard restrictions here in that sort of sense. You could add as many periods as you need and create the lines as you need. So I'm just going to go back for this. Just wanted to show you how that looked and how that could work. Going to the posting section now, we have fixed asset posting type setup. So we can see that there are different fixed asset posting types, such as write-downs, appreciation, and some custom fields here as well. And you can include whether they'll be included in certain being part of the book value, whether it's being included in depreciation calculations, gain or loss calculations of the value of that asset. These are all different types that you can select these checkboxes, and then you can also edit the signs from credits to debits here. So I'm going to leave this as is for now, but this is something that you will want to look into. All right, we also have the fixed assets posting groups. So as we can see from here, in the standard company, we have several fixed asset posting groups, those being equipment, goodwill, plant, property, and vehicles. Each posting group has assigned accounts, fixed asset accounts, or as part of the chart of accounts. And you can see that each code would be assigned to a different fixed asset depending on where it would lie. So let's say you got a piece of machinery, you would probably want to put the fixed asset code of equipment into that. And let's say there was a news article, something about the benefits and social impact that your company is doing, and you see more people coming to your business that month, that could be potentially attributed to goodwill. And that would reflect in that entry on these accounts if you are able to see the differences, either compare it year over year with that extra influence or month over month, however that is being calculated. But you can add additional fixed asset posting groups at any time and make sure you have the appropriate accounts assigned for each section in case you were using that. So there's depreciation, expenses, acquisition costs, every normal thing you would see associated with fixed assets, gains, losses, accumulated depreciation. You want to make sure you have an account for each and every section. All right, so we're going to go back And last but not least, we have journal templates. So we can go to fixed asset journal templates. This allows you when you are making a fixed asset entry. If a template is already there, it will allow it to autofill certain fields in for you. So that means there's less manual work on your part putting in the fixed asset entries, and you can let the template do some of the work for you. Now, there are times and places where you would want to use a template and when you would not, and that can be depending on an individual basis. For these examples, we have two fixed asset journal templates here. We have a standard fixed asset journal template, just called assets for the fixed asset general journal or general ledger journal. And we also have a reoccurring journal template. This is specifically made for reoccurring fixed asset entries, say a depreciation calculation for an asset that is being calculated by a fixed rate over a certain amount of time. You could put that in a reoccurring entry. So let's say every month when you're calculating the depreciation on that asset, it could come up as a recurring entry. You can just double check it and then post it after you make any necessary changes to that entry. All right. So you can also go straight to the batches from this screen or edit and add any new templates that you may want to use. So going back, there's also, last but not least, fixed asset reclass entries. This kind of lets you set up certain number series and reason codes to reclassify any fixed assets. This may not be used as much as the original fixed asset journal templates, but the fact is some assets will need to be reclassed during their life, and this will allow those entries to be made a little simpler by creating and using a new journal template in that form. So that kind of goes through most of the different functions for depreciation, posting, and the templates. The last thing I would like to look at here are the fixed asset classes and subclasses. So you can create certain groups that your fixed assets will kind of lump into. Fixed asset classes are kind of the general higher up kind of classes. In our example here, we have financial, intangible, and tangible. So, financial assets, you will put that in that category for that fixed asset. Maybe the goodwill that we talked about earlier would have fallen in the intangible fixed asset class, while that piece of machinery would probably fall into more a tangible fixed asset class. And then you can also get even more specific with subclasses as well. And it might be something you want to look into. Here you can see that we have the fixed asset uh, codes from before and along with their description. And you can see the assigned fixed asset codes to that group as well as the posting group as well. And these can be changed and modified at any time, but these are entries that you'd want to make sure are filled out properly and fully before you start doing any fixed asset posting in Business Central. All right, I think that about wraps up all of our fixed asset setup for Business Central. So I hope you learned something today, and I will see you soon.